How are you?
Very nice meeting you.
Mhm. You too, thanks. Well, thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
No problem. I love it.
Mhm. Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about what was your inspiration in directing off the grid? What was it about the script that you really enjoyed, and how did you become attached to direct the film?
Well, I was very, very hesitant to do an action movie because of the limited time that we're given in independent movies these days. And so I wanted to make sure whatever I did it the best way I possibly could. And I finally realized that I just had to find my own way of making a great action movie with not having the days that I truly needed. And that's when I sat down with my writer and I said, I want to do a different kind of action movie where he doesn't have a gun, he doesn't want to kill anyone, and he's forced to have to do things that he doesn't want to do. But more importantly, I want to develop a character that shows what people every day go through, depression, loneliness, and how you have to live through that. And I think the message that I'm trying to tell you is that yeah, you could be put in the worst circumstance, but things happen for a reason, and in time things will all pay off.
What was the casting process like in bringing the main actors, especially Josh Duhamel, into starring in the film? What was that experience like in bringing him and Brad Kinnear and the rest of the cast on board overall?
Well, I wanted to make a passionate movie to where you really love the character, and he wasn't standing out on action alone. And hopefully people will see this movie and not really say it's an action movie. It's a really character piece. And so I fell in love with Josh Duhamel, just who he is and his presence about him. That I read everything I could about him and watched everything, and I realized that he was an off the grid kind of guy. So I called my writer and said, "Hey, we got to write a script called Off the Grid and really make it for Josh because I want an actor to play who he is more than I want him to play someone he's not." And so I did that. And then when I thought of Greg, I'm like, okay, but we need to make a villain, not a villain for the sake of villain. It's too easy to play someone that's mean. Why don't we take a villain that's loved, make him uncomfortable with being a villain, and try to make fun of it to where he can't even take himself serious and make it fun to be a villain. And that's kind of the process. And Greg is so loved by everyone that I thought that maybe they could fall in love with a bad guy.
Yeah. And when they signed on to star in the movie, what was your collaboration like with them as actors and really building the characters and the story? And how did you really, maybe if you had any rehearsal time, or what was that experience like as well?
Well, with Greg and with Josh, it was great because we got pushed a year and a half on this movie, where it made Josh and I become partners, friendship, and then brothers, to where we would fight with each other to discuss what's best for this movie. And it became so great that our discussions, and we worked so hard. We probably wrote the script 75 times. But my big thing I do on my script, on my projects, is that before I start shooting, I spend an extra half hour to an hour, have the actors come, and even though I think it's right and I know exactly what I'm going to do, I'll play the dummy and say, guys, something's wrong with this scene. What are we doing wrong? And then I get everyone to collaborate together, and us, even though thought it was right, but when they hear they think I'm wrong, that it could be wrong, then our minds just go crazy. And by the end of it, I don't think we shot a script page on this whole movie because we collaborated every single day and changed everything every day to work for the process of the progression of the movie.
And speaking about being on set and maybe changing things around, that was something I also wanted to ask about as well. And if there was any improv or if locations and situations in general really influenced the storytelling, how did you approach maybe changing things on the day while you were filming?
Yeah, everything is on the day. I mean, any filmmaker that goes into a movie that thinks that he's going to shoot what's on a script, even when he's seen the environment, it's about the feeling around you. It changes. It's like it's so important. Like with the forestry, is a star of this movie, and how do you now hide it? And show it at the same time because you don't want an actor to be in the middle of his dialogue and then all of a sudden find out that people are looking at the scenery too because it's so beautiful. So you have to try to condense things and you have to try to shadow things in a way to where they stand out and help the scene instead of trying to stand out alone from the scene. And then to have the problems with some of the shots where you go to Mississippi and you fight snakes, ticks, and chiggers. And basically, I got chiggers, and my body swelled swelled up. I couldn't walk, but found a way to get doctors to give me shots. And there were snakes running around the set like crazy that the actors are running from. So where we were so distracted by everything, the environment around us, that it made it, and then the heat. Then to bring in the heat of the story, it made everyone moody and everything else, but we never broke what we had to do. And that's to be the best performance that we possibly could.
And also speaking about the location, how did you decide where you wanted to film, and how did the environment also help, like build the story? What was that experience like being on location?
Well, like I said, the forestry and the little town was the most important. I didn't want a hell or high water kind of a movie where it was dry and deserty and feeling lonely. I wanted to feel like if I was to leave for 20 years of my life, I wanted to go somewhere where I could at least find a way to smile. And to me, that's why the town had to be cute. Even if it was small, it had to be cute. And that's why the forestry had to be so important that we were supposed to go to Italy, then we were supposed to go to Spain, and then we ended up in Mississippi, where it was all about a square area that I could find that would work for the whole movie because it was important that I could adjust to the sunlight to keep the shadows right for each scene and did not have the density of the forest and to have mountains to give us a a distance of the movie too, to where so that was important. So we couldn't just shoot in long areas. We had to shoot in a square area that we felt could work for a whole movie.
And while you were filming, what was it like working with Josh and Greg and the rest of the cast, and maybe building their physicality, and if there was any like stunts or action sequences they all did on the location? How did you build that aspect of the film?
Well, it's very important for me that the actors do their own action. I mean, I'd rather have less action and have the actor do it than have big action and have doubles do it. So, Josh, I got some of the best bike riders in the business. Jimmy Roberts, who's doubled Tom Cruise, and other stunt people that helped me train Josh how to slide a bike, how to ride a bike. Because when you see the bike scene in this movie, it's mostly 99% Josh on that bike with those cars sliding all around him. The fight scenes. I wanted it to be where he wasn't fully trained. I wanted him to have to think on the moment of what he would do and make it a little bit more clumsier, where it was important that Josh did it. It was important to have less fights than to see flowing fist around to show five specific moves to show who he was and how he thought. And to me, to have the actors all do their own action is so much stronger because to me, action movies should be 80% emotion and 20% physical. And to me, if you could bring the emotion to the scene, then the action will fill its space.
And while you were on set, how did you also decide how you wanted to visually shoot the films in terms of the cinematography as well?
The cinematography, I mean, look, we all want to see beauty, so I had to make sure that the beauty was there, but not standing out. The colors were colorful. Like I want to shoot movies that my eye see. If my eye sees a green tree, I want a green tree. I want to know that the brightness of the green isn't as bright when I'm looking at you in the face. I could see it somewhat green in the back. So to me, it was all about and not having it so clouded and crowded that I had some air breathing in and lights rays coming in to breathe, to allow the rays to bring the actors in. And to me, it was all about, bringing in the right colors and the right scenery to be able to make the movie that I made and still make it commercial, but not make it over the top commercial.
And what was your experience like also working with your producing team to get the film made as well?
Well, that was quite an amazing feat because like I said, we are supposed to shoot in Italy and Spain, and then our funding dropped out. And then the great David Litlipper came in with his financing team, and within 5 days, we got funded again. 5 days before we're ready to shoot the movie, and I got flew right over to Mississippi. And without their support, of not of being able to care enough about the movie to not let it drag any further, it would have been a hard film to make. Richie Salvatore really helped me with this movie. He's the one that believed in me. I've produced over 15 films with him, and he says it's time that we do something big together. So this was it.
Mhm. And then to wrap up, I also wanted to ask about now with the film being released in theaters and digitally, what your experience was like in working with Lionsgate and figuring out the distribution as well.
Um, I couldn't be more happy or with Lionsgate. Lionsgate's one of the best studios I've ever worked with because they honestly care, but they're honest, very honest people too. So if you screw up, you're gonna know it. But if you do good, they're gonna give you that pat on the back, and not only are they gonna give you a pat on the back, but they're gonna do what's right for the movie. And to give this little movie of mine a chance to be seen by people that just want to have a good time for an hour and 40 minutes. They're allowing me to have that, and I praise Barry and Stan and all the Lionsgate people and the people at Grindstone that helped support me. Not now, I'm not in the past, but now when the film needs it the most.
Mhm. Well, thank you very much again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it. Mhm.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You're welcome. Thanks, you too. Thanks.